Hollywood just hit rock bottom. What should have been a moment of national mourning, the assassination of Charlie Kirk on September 10th, has been twisted into something ridiculous. A tragedy that should have brought silence, respect, and reflection has instead been turned into a circus. And at the center of that circus? None other than Tom Hanks. Yes, that Tom Hanks, the man Hollywood spent decades selling to us as America's dad, the kind-hearted star of Forrest Gump, and the beloved voice of Woody from Toy Story. The man who was supposed to represent humility, decency, and kindness. Well, the mask just slipped, and what's behind it isn't wholesome at all. Instead of staying silent, instead of showing even a shred of respect, Hanks and his Hollywood friends used Charlie Kirk's death as a punchline, as a political weapon. They laughed, they mocked, they turned a man's assassination into content. This wasn't a moment of unity. It was a performance, and the audience was meant to clap along. Today, we're breaking it all down. How Tom Hanks' choice to politicize a tragedy completely backfired. How NBC and SNL are scrambling in damage control mode. And why this might be the final nail in the coffin for Hollywood's already shattered credibility. And trust me, what I'm about to show you will make you look at Hollywood in a completely different light. But first, don't forget to subscribe to Woke Watch. We're not letting these people get away with their hypocrisy. Let's dive in. On September 10th, the unthinkable happened. Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a man so vile, his name isn't even worth repeating. The news was shocking, it was heartbreaking, and for a brief moment, the entire country seemed to hold its breath. In a decent world, this would have been a moment to pause, to grieve, to show grace even for those who disagreed with Kirk politically. But Hollywood isn't decent anymore. Instead of silence, we got a chorus of late-night comedians, smug celebrities, and bitter Twitter warriors turning Kirk's death into a punchline. And leading that parade of mockery, Tom Hanks. This is the same Tom Hanks who built his empire on being Mr. Everyman, the guy you could trust. The guy who always played characters with integrity. The one Hollywood told us represented decency, humility, and the good guy spirit. But that mask has been ripped off. Hanks didn't mourn. He didn't stay silent. He used Charlie Kirk's assassination as another excuse to recycle the same tired anti-Trump talking points. MAGA this, MAGA that. Blame conservatives. Blame Trump supporters. Blame the people who didn't vote the way Hollywood wanted them to. And this wasn't even his first offense. Earlier this year, Hanks used Saturday Night Live as his personal playground to mock Trump voters dressing up in over-the-top insulting caricatures. Drunk, sloppy, hillbillies, racist, ignorant, violent, the same lazy stereotypes Hollywood has been shoving down America's throat for years. 'Cause that's what they think of you. Not as real people, not as Americans, but as cheap targets for a cheap laugh. This time, though, he went too far. According to insiders, NBC executives were forced to cancel Hanks' planned appearances on SNL, and this wasn't just a one-off cameo. Hanks was scheduled for 4 different episodes, 4 separate sketches, all aimed at mocking Trump voters. The first was set for November 22nd, timed perfectly for the holiday season, because nothing says Christmas spirit like demeaning half the country on live television. But the backlash came fast. Viewers were furious. Sponsors started sweating. NBC panicked. And just like that, Hanks was gone, pulled from the schedule. Not because NBC suddenly developed morals, not because they respected Charlie Kirk or his grieving family. They pulled Hanks because they were scared. Scared of losing viewers. Scared of the outrage that was bubbling online. Scared of the ratings crash that was coming. That's Hollywood for you. It's never about right or wrong. It's about damage control. And make no mistake, Hanks is furious. Sources say his team is livid, warning NBC that pulling him is a mistake, that his appearances were going to boost ratings, as if America was sitting around waiting for another recycled Trump joke to save SNL. Please. Let's be real, SNL hasn't been funny in decades. The golden era, Belushi, Aykroyd, Murray ended in the 80s. The 90s were a slow decline. The 2000s? Running on fumes. And by the 2010s, SNL stopped being comedy entirely. It became a weekly political ad disguised as a sketch show. Every week, the same routine, another lazy anti-Trump monologue, another smug applause line, another round of virtue signaling dressed up as humor. And then they acted shocked when viewers stopped tuning in. But here's the kicker, NBC didn't cancel the sketches, they're just recasting them. Same script, same political propaganda, just a different face delivering the punchlines. That's the hypocrisy. It was never about respecting Kirk's memory, it was never about principle, it was about optics. And the hypocrisy doesn't stop there. Within hours of Kirk's assassination, Stephen King jumped online, turning the tragedy into yet another bitter attack on conservatives. No pause. No grace, just more finger-pointing. And he wasn't alone. The late-night hosts piled on too. Their monologues weren't tributes. They weren't moments of silence. They were rants, angry political rants dressed up as jokes, designed to score applause from their studio audiences and rack up viral clips on Twitter. They couldn't even wait a single week. They couldn't let Kirk's family grieve. They had to strike while the headlines were still hot. That's not comedy, that's exploitation. And it shows you exactly where Hollywood's heart is. Let's bring it back to Tom Hanks. For decades, Hollywood sold him as the good guy, the neighbor everyone trusted, the dad every kid wished they had, the actor who embodied decency and humanity on screen. People believed it. Families made his movies part of their traditions. America trusted him. But when the mask slips, the truth is hard to ignore. Behind the Hollywood smile, what do we see? Not decency, not humility, but arrogance, elitism. A man so blinded by politics he couldn't even hold his tongue during a national tragedy. Instead of saying nothing, instead of respecting the moment, he chose to insult millions of grieving Americans. And just like that, the fallout has begun. NBC didn't waste a second, they cut him loose. Those perfectly choreographed SNL appearances, wiped from the calendar like they never existed. The man once branded as America's dad is watching his carefully polished image crumble piece by piece in real time. And honestly, it feels overdue. Because let's be real, people are exhausted. Exhausted from being mocked for what they believe in. Exhausted from watching every tragedy turned into some late-night punchline. Exhausted from tuning into their favorite shows, their favorite movies, only to be insulted by the very celebrities they've supported for decades. And here's the thing about entertainment, it only works if the audience keeps clapping. Once the clapping stops, once the laughter fades, the entire machine starts falling apart, and that's exactly what we're watching happen right now. So, what happens next? Maybe NBC does what NBC always does, maybe Hollywood does what Hollywood always does. They swap out Hanks for another actor, roll out the same recycled jokes, pretend nothing happened, and just wait until the outrage dies down. But maybe, just maybe, this is the moment when some studios finally get it. When they finally realize that people don't want another political lecture. They don't want every comedy sketch to be a sermon. They just want to laugh again. Because here's the uncomfortable truth, Tom Hanks isn't who you thought he was. And honestly, it's not just him. The whole picture we've been sold about Hollywood, about these so-called wholesome stars, is starting to fall apart. Tom Hanks was supposed to be the safe one, the symbol of everything good and comforting about the movies. The friendly neighbor, the wise father figure, the humble everyman we could all root for. But now, that image is cracking. And people are starting to see what's behind the curtain. That warm, reassuring smile we've seen for decades, suddenly it doesn't feel so warm. Suddenly it feels like a mask. And this raises a bigger question, is this the official end of Hollywood's golden age of nice guy illusions? Is this the moment where America finally realizes that these people aren't who we thought they were? That the charm we fell for was part of a very carefully crafted performance? Because let's be real, this isn't just about Tom Hanks. This is about an industry that has gotten so comfortable mocking the very people who built it. The fans, the ticket buyers, the viewers who made their billion-dollar careers possible, and now they're being laughed at, dismissed, told to sit down and take it. But the audience is changing. People aren't swallowing the Hollywood narrative like they used to. They're calling it out, they're pushing back, and they're taking their loyalty and their money somewhere else. This feels bigger than one scandal. It feels like a turning point. So where do you stand? Is this the reckoning people have been waiting for? Or will Hollywood do what it always does, close ranks? Rewrite the headlines and wait for the storm to pass? Either way, one thing is clear. The curtain is being pulled back, the audience is walking out, and the applause, it's coming to a stop. Something tells me this is only the beginning, not just for Tom Hanks, but for the entire system that created him.